we have to attack it from the supply side, not only the supply side, the demand side. So while we've done our due diligence in investigating drugs, we got to figure out a way to hit the demand side also. We got to figure out a way to get folks that are on drugs help. That's the key. We got to get them help. You know, we got to get them help. We got to get them help. You know, and I stress that. You know, we got to hit it from both ends. So that's walk in. That's what I was talking about. It's got to be a 50-50 proposition. Because that's the only way. Because if you keep hitting the supply side and not the demand, you know, when we arrest somebody that does drugs, you're going to have the next person step in line to fill that supply side. So we got to get folks help.
How about in the schools?
Same thing. Yeah,
is there much problem there?
Well, it's enough of a problem. You know, when the kids get into high school, they figure out a way to want to get kids. One of our biggest challenges is laws have recently changed where now I like to call it a certain level of drug use, like marijuana use, have been decriminalized. So it has changed the scope of how we look at things. We have to be very careful when we approach somebody. And we had this incident with Jeremy Patchett. He's one of the guys that he keeps us on our toes. We had an incident not too long ago where, and this is how it has changed for us. Where at one point in time, where if you smelled marijuana on a person, you could automatically stop them and frisk them and all that kind of stuff, looking for illegal contraband. That has changed. Now, what has not changed, if they're in a car, if they're in a vehicle, you know, we still can do a search if they're in a vehicle. But things have changed completely on the scope of how we investigate. So we've had to retool and re-educate ourselves as a police department. So what happens is when you retool and you re-educate, you lag behind because it takes you time to ramp up and catch up. So that's one of our biggest challenges, is catching up. And then as soon as we catch up, something else will change. Because guess what? In this last legislature, something else will change. So it's just always, as law enforcement, we're always lagging behind and trying to catch up. But again, we have to meet that challenge. We got to meet that challenge by becoming educated, being a part of the task force like we are, and then focusing on the supply side. You know, getting Narcan used to. When somebody ODs, give them that Narcan. And then, hey, we can get you some help. We get you, put you on. Did you want to say something?
No. I was nodding my head in agreement.
Oh, okay. We can.
Was the county successful in? I know the sheriff was asking for another officer for the school for St. Michaels.
Yeah, you know, I think he was, and in fact, I think it did happen. So he.
I think it's supposed to come in this school year.
Yeah, this school year. Yeah.
I think they're gonna put one there and one in Tillman.
I was going to say, you're looking for somebody now.
Oh yeah, we're looking now for hire. You guys for our department.
This county would be the sheriff's deputy would be assigned.
Will that be an extra one or a new replacement?
The sheriff is going to put a deputy into the school as like a school administrator kind of deal. Pretty much anything that happens in school, he'll take care of.
So we have
just like they have in Easton. And Dorchester County does it in CSD.
Dorchester. Improving the budget, improves
Terrible.
Normally you don't really have a whole lot of problems. They just make sure that, you know, it stays that way. As long as they take care of all the fights and stuff like that. They try to get to it before it happens.
So that'll give us a good number. Oh yeah, you can feel it, because what happens in no time in this day and age, you all know what's going on out there with terrorism and stuff like that, and so the dynamics have changed in law enforcement tremendously over. I've been doing law enforcement work for 34 years now, and it has changed drastically. When I started, you could go to a call. In fact, I started my career in Carroll County. We all know Carroll County, believe it or not. It's, I think, right behind Frederick. It's the largest land area. It's an area in the state of Maryland. We used to work that county with two officers. I'd be on the northern end, and another officer would be on the southern end. That was the mindset. You could work a county with two officers. You went to a domestic by yourself. I mean, you went to knock down, drag out fights by yourself. But that doesn't work anymore. You can't do that. Officer safety, because what is, hey, Shauna, how you doing? What has changed is that the dynamics in how law enforcement are treated in the confrontation It used to be when you showed up as a state trooper, and I was a state trooper for 25 years, people totally respected you, and therefore you had command presence. Now you get challenged when you go to cars. So I'm saying all this to say, dynamics has changed. So we're getting ready to have the 4th of July this weekend. We'll have 5, 6, 7,000 people. There's no reason why we should have only one officer. We just can't. It's not good numbers, and we don't. So what we do is schedule extra officers. So that's the way we have to look at it in the future, increasing our manpower. It used to be you could take one officer and handle all that. You just can't do it anymore. You just can't do it anymore because there's just too many dynamics involved in law enforcement. Okay, that one officer that's working, what happens when he makes an arrest? Done for his whole shift. Even with all our electronic, right now we've progressed to the point where when we arrest somebody, we take them to the station, we can put their hands on a scanner and it'll scan their fingerprints. We can also do what's called, what else can we do? We do good morning. We can do e-tickets, which is electronic ticketing. Even hey, good morning. Even with all that upgrade in technology, if an officer makes an arrest, he's probably down 5 or 6 hours. Am I correct? Still, if he's working by himself,
You still have to take him to the commissioner.
we still have to take him to the commissioner. And guess what? It might be a line lined up with the commissioner's office, and a person has a right to due process. So if you arrest a person, they have a right to a hearing. So you can't just arrest them and they just disappear. Guess what? You're babysitting for 5 or 6 hours. And dynamics has changed. You used to, when I first started, you used to take a person to a commissioner that was intoxicated. They won't accept them anymore. So if you lock a person up that's intoxicated, guess what? We're babysitting for 8 hours until they sober up. That's why you can't do this job with one officer anymore. You got all those dynamics thrown in there. We arrest a person, you working night shift by yourself. You arrest a person for drunk driving, the commissioner's not going to see him until they sober up. So you're sitting there at a station, you can't
You're
leave.
really even stuck in the station.
Yeah, you can't leave a person at a station by themselves. By law, you can't do that. Because what happens if they harm themselves? Guess who's responsible? So, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm getting to the point of why you have to hire more personnel, because you can't do the job anymore effectively, because it's not only is so much officer safety, laws have changed that you just can't do it. So you have to have adequate manpower, and with the mentality of folks and the stuff that we're up against as police departments, things have changed. It's just a different dynamic when you confront people now as a police officer. It's different. People challenge you. And that's understandable. They have a right to do it. They have a right to do it. But as long as it's done legally. As long as it's done. Hey, good morning.
Chief.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
And Chief has to have time to do administrative.
Minimum.
Officer has got to
How you
have time
doing?
to be pretty